Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm glad you're here. Come on in. It is December 31st. It's the last day of 2024. Very exciting. And today we're going to talk about how to make 2025 your best year ever. So come on in. It looks like George is here and Daphne is here. And full disclosure, I went to the dentist today. My goal was to use every penny of our dental benefits as the year closed. So I have a brand new replacement filling, and I also have the side of my mouth filled with Novocaine or whatever they use. So anyway, so come on in, and Sonia has joined us. Hello, hello, hello. So for those of you joining for the first time, I'm Belinda Sandor. I'm the founder of the VA Connection, where I help coach aspiring and established virtual assistants create, grow, and scale their businesses as virtual assistants. And I work with my students in my free online community, my courses, and my coaching programs. And today I'm going to be your host for Lessons from the Cockpit. So come on in. If you're watching, we are streaming on LinkedIn. We are streaming on YouTube, our Facebook business page. And and it looks like we are also streaming, Mandy, so great. We're streaming in all of our groups as well. So that's fabulous. Okay, good. Good. So I'd love to hear where you're coming in from. And like I said, today we're going to talk about how to make 2025 your best year ever. And I have a feeling it's not what you think. All right. I have a feeling it's not what you think. But before we do that, I want to introduce myself. Many of us at different times in our life struggle with what to do with the next chapter, right? And some of you on the cusp of 2025 might be struggling with that right now. There's a lot of pressure that happens around this time of year. Like, I've got to get it perfect. I've got to get it right. And I certainly struggled with that many times in my life, not just in the new year, where I think there's the most pressure, but just at different times in my life. And so this is me and my daughter, who is now 23 years old. This was us in 2010. And I was in kind of a mess at that particular moment. My marriage was over. So I'm getting divorced. I hadn't been able to pay the mortgage in over a year. How the bank let me do that, I don't know, but they did. And I hadn't paid my taxes for 7 years. And I just had all this credit card debt. And it wasn't because it didn't feel like I was being irresponsible. What it felt like, I was trying to hold it together. And sometimes seasons in our lives are not easy, right? We have to make choices to get through. And I was at the moment where everything was sort of falling apart. And so I have this failing business. I need to close. I'm not. There is no paycheck, so I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I'm more living like moment to moment. Right, moment to moment. And so I need to start. So I sold my home. Emily and I are on our own, and I need to find a safe place for us to live in a decent school district. And I managed to do that. And I needed to start bringing money in. So I thought at first, well, I'll get a job because that's what people do. And at 50, I wasn't able to find a job. It seemed like in the 8 or 9 years that I'd had my business, the world completely changed and people got jobs in different ways. And it was very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable to be in that position of feeling so powerless when I really had the desire to work. I wanted to give to an organization. I wanted to get paid and I wanted to be a part of something. And I just couldn't figure out how to make that happen. And I think it's because my jack of all trades skill set was actually hurting me in the workplace, where as a virtual assistant, it was a superpower, which is kind of interesting. So I started temping and I thought, okay, this is good. People need my services. They need what I can provide. They need my experience, but I'm sharing the money with the temp agency and I'm going into downtown Boston every day And this is really not what I had in mind. So I thought, okay, what if I could do this on my own? I didn't know what a virtual assistant was. Like I said, it was 14 years ago. And so I started telling people that I knew. And one day at the school bus stop, one of the dads said to me, what's new? And I said, okay, crazy. This is what I'm doing. I want to do admin work. I hadn't even like thought about the from home part yet, but I had thought about not commuting into Boston. And so he got really excited because he had started his own business a couple of months before. I had no idea. And he needed help. He needed help with paying his bills. He needed help with stuff around the office, cleaning up his email inbox, things like that. And I was delighted to help him. He was lovely man. He had a bunch of kids and a wife who I knew. We all used to go trick-or-treating together on Halloween. And so I started working with him, and I felt relief. Money started to come in. He was so happy because all of these things that he knew he shouldn't be spending his time on were handled. And so I was off to the races. I wasn't making enough to survive or even close, but I was on to something. And so I really latched onto that. And the next thing you know, as I don't know, some time went by, probably a month or so, and I'm at a wedding and I'm in the buffet line and I'm talking to somebody, and a man and his wife, and the man, his name is Michael, says to me, what do you do for work? And I started to explain to him what I was up to. And he's like, that's really interesting. Here's my card. And I didn't have a card. I didn't have a website. I didn't have a business name. I had none of that. But I connected with him on LinkedIn the next day, which felt like such a huge thing, because my underlying belief is what do they think I want from them? What do they think I want from them? And it's not a great place to operate from, but that's where I was operating. So I clicked connect on LinkedIn, and it felt like I'd asked him to marry me. Which I know sounds crazy, but that's how it felt. So some more time passes, and he reaches out to me, and through LinkedIn Messenger, and he says, do you know anyone that could help me run a live event and take credit card processing? And I'm like, me, because I had my online store for all those years. I understood how to set up credit card processing. I certainly could plan an event. Like if you plan a birthday party, for your kid, you can plan pretty much anything. And so I worked with him, and we got along really well. Now even though the event was in person, it was really virtual because we were setting everything up, and he lived an hour away from me. So after the event was over, we grabbed a cup of Coke or whatever, and he said, I want to do webinars. I want to do this for a larger audience. And I said, that would be great. I think it would be awesome. You should do that. And he said, I don't know how. And I said, well, I don't either. So, and then he said the famous magical words, can I pay you to learn? And I'm like, what? This is crazy. So we continued to work together. It was remote, and I learned how to set up webinars and accept payment and run the back end. I had no idea. I didn't know the software. He didn't know the software, but we figured it out, and we made a lot of money that year. He made it from the cost of the webinar. He was charging for the webinar, and I made it in hours, hours working with him. And it was really great. And it was very exciting. And then what happened was I met my now husband, Greg, in 2012, and he lived 164 miles away from me. And not only that, he had a job in New York City. So he's commuting on the train, an hour and 15 minutes all in. And he has zero flexibility. He has like negative flexibility. And so I'm thinking, if I'm going to be able to spend time with this guy and continue to have a relationship with him, I need to figure out how I'm the one with the flexibility. I'm the one with, my own business. How am I going to make that work? And so very quickly, I moved everything to the cloud. I started telling my in-person clients, oh no, you don't really need me to come in. We're just going to do this on Zoom. Zoom didn't exist then. I was using something else. I can't remember what it was called, but, and just explaining to them, there's tools, and I can remote control your computer, and, all the things. And they went for it. And so I continued to grow my business, grow my clients, and be 100% remote so that I could go to Connecticut whenever I wanted. And the time flexibility made a huge difference for my life, my mothering, my relationship with Greg. And this is us on our wedding day in 2021, which seems like yesterday. And because of this lifestyle and freedom, I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, and I've made more than $1 million in 10 years. The first year I was working, I made $70,000. And for the next 10 years, I made $100,000 or more as a virtual assistant. And, from the beginning, Greg and I dreamed of owning our home. That was really the one of our big goals. We rented our house for a very long time, and in a very expensive part of the country. And we wanted to change. And this is the last time I'm going to be able to say earlier this year, but in January of this year that's ending, Greg and I closed on this charming farmhouse that's just a couple miles from Chesapeake Bay. We bought 21 and a half acres. We brought our chickens with us. We're expanding our chicken family over the summer this year coming up in 2025. And, my life didn't follow the plan that I thought it would. The plan that it seemed like everyone else's life was following. You go to college, you get your degree, you meet the man, you get married, you buy a house, you have a baby, you get a couple of dogs. When we all see people walking down the street with the dog, the husband, the baby, for years I wondered, what is wrong with me that I'm not able to do that? And you know what? There's nothing wrong with me. I did it a different way, and a lot of us do it a different way, and that's good. So I had Emily when I was 40. I graduated from college when I was 29. I went back to school. Actually, I went back at 29 and graduated at 32-ish. I had Emily when I was 40. I married the man I'd been looking for my whole life at 60. We became homeowners at 63. And it's all right there. It's all right there. And it's important to get clear on what you want. And it's important to do what I'm about to talk about, which is, how to be able to achieve the goals that you want in the year upcoming. Now, the first thing I want to say is take some pressure off. All right. Because I know for me, for years, like tomorrow is like the day we begin the perfect year of our whole entire life. And there's no room for screwing up or anything other than perfection. So if that's you need to cut it out right now, because that's not going to fly, because you're not going to get past Friday without something happening. And if your operating assumption is that it has to be perfect, it's not going to work, because the human beings are not perfect. We're not perfect. And so you really have to keep that in mind and know that the whole game here is about getting up and starting over and getting up and starting over. That's how this works. So I want you to sit down and set intentions for the year. I want you to set intentions for the year, and I want you to think big, really big. And I want you then to think about what would need to be true in order for this to happen. So here's an example for me. In order for me to grow our community and my business the way that I want to in 2025, there are some things that are true, some things that need to change so that this can happen, because my goal is big and scary and it seems unreachable. I don't know how to get there, but what I do know is that if I continue to monitor my own email inbox, which currently has 401 in one of them and 400 in the other one, I'm not going to be able to get where I want to go, right? So unless I stop doing that, we're not going to get there. And so it's very important to set the big scary goal, break it down by quarter, Q1, Q2. So January to March, April to whatever, every 3 months, and start to break it down, and then break it into months and days and hours. Like literally break it down into hours and check these things off in the order of importance that they are to getting your goal. So, and the other thing I want you to do is I want you to read your goal every single day, because we all know how easy it is to say, I want to make $100,000, and we don't get busy in January because we're putting the tree away and something happened and whatever, and fill in the blank. And then it's so cold out, we're not gonna go outside and exercise and take care of ourselves because it's so cold. And then something else is going to happen. It just, life happens. And if I shared with you the amount of life that has happened to me since, actually, when did it start? October 12th. So many things have happened. Unlike some really happy, some really great, some unspeakable, some like tragically sad, but it's happened and it hasn't stopped me. And that's because I'm clear on what I want. And it's not that I'm like ruthless about it, like everybody get out of my way, but I'm very deliberate. I'm very deliberate about what's important to me and what I want to accomplish. And I do my best every single day to set an intention for the day and to work toward it. And sometimes we get distracted. Like today, I spent about an hour sifting through. I have, my office is the place since we've moved in that I just keep putting stuff. If you don't know where to put it there. And it's a little crazy. And I want to clean it up. And so I spent about an hour today cleaning it up. Now, I could have spent all day today and tomorrow making file folder labels and all the things, but I didn't do that. I decided I was going to spend an hour. I did, and then I moved on. And I can spend another hour tomorrow if I decide to, but it's not about doing something till it's done, until everything's perfect. It's about moving forward, right? It's about moving forward. And so I want you to think about that really every single day. How can I move forward today? And set some goals for yourself that feel unreasonable. So for example, if you want to, let's say your email newsletter list is at 100 people. Okay. I think tripling it would be a great goal, right? Tripling it in a year to 300. And so the question is, what needs to be true in order for this to happen? Well, you need to ask a lot more people if they can be on your newsletter list. Okay, how am I going to do that? Okay, well, I could really go through and connect with everyone that I know on LinkedIn, like no kidding. Like really go deep. Look at my friends' LinkedIn connections. Look at the people who used to work where I used to work and really connect with everyone and suspend the judgment that you are making up in your head that they're having about you, right? Because we all have these ideas about what other people are thinking about us. And sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. But if you make that unimportant to your goal, you will get there, right? You will get there. But that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. So it's like, let's not just like double your list. Let's triple it. Let's quadruple it. Let's hit 1,000. And what would need to be true for that to happen? How would your behavior, how would you need to shift how you're spending time in order for that to happen? And that's what I want this year to be for you. And, some of you are going to wake up, I don't know, on January 10th and start thinking to yourself, I'm so far behind. And it's human nature. Because I do it, right? I do it. Everybody does it. The difference is sometimes when people say, I'm so far behind, what am I going to do? There's a couple things that happen. One is they quit. I can't do this. I'm so far behind. And they catastrophize the whole thing. The other thing that happens is they just feel bad about it. They may not quit. They may trudge along, but they feel bad about it. And that doesn't work either. And the third option is to notice the behavior. And this is what I've practiced for decades, but it took a lot of practice. And that is to say, I feel behind. The truth is I'm really not. This is where I am, and this is where I want to be. What am I going to do today? What's the most important thing to do today to get moving? Not even to get on track, but to get moving toward this goal. And it can be very, very simple things. And when we are in that mindset of openness and awareness and looking around us, opportunities will present themselves that you wouldn't even see before, when you're stuck in this, no, I'm so far behind. This is never going to work. I don't think this is for me. Because the question is not, will this work? That's not the question I want you to ask. What do I need to do in order for this to work? Very different question, because then you're looking around. It's expansive, right? What can I do right now to get to the next level? And just if you're committed to having a virtual assistant business, if you're committed to working from home, having time flexibility, location independence, if you're committed to that, you really want it, then the question is, what am I going to do today? All right, it's that simple. And yes, there's lots of different, complicated ways to goal set and to, and if you're in VA school or the VIP club, we're going to talk about soon, next week, we're going to talk about how to set goals, and we're going to talk about, how to write your goals as if you're reading about them at the end of the year. All of that stuff is important. Visualization is important. All of those things, they're very powerful tools. But I believe the most important thing you can do is just keep going. Just keep going. And if you start off strong and all of a sudden it's February 10th and you realize you've lost track of your goals, read them again and start over. That'll do it, right? That'll do it. Because in my life, there have been so many barriers, so many barriers. And I know that a lot of you feel the same way. A lot of you feel the same way. And the feeling, the other thing that I think is important and that I've incorporated into my life is that when a barrier, like here's an example. So there was a death in my immediate friend group. And so instead of, I can't do my year-end planning because I'm going to be in Boston for 3 days and this is going to happen. It was pretty emotional. It was a lot. And it was unexpected, completely unexpected. And so the question wasn't, I didn't throw my hands up and say, well, I just can't do this. What I said was, given what's happening and how I want to show up, what are my next steps? And so honestly, where I am today, the plan was to be here, to be where I am now about a week ago, but it didn't work out that way. So I'm not giving up. I'm not throwing my hands up. I'm not saying it's not going to be perfect. What I'm saying is, okay, given where I am and what I need to do, I'm in a different place, but this is the place I'm in. And I'm going to move forward from there, right? Really important. So I'd love to hear what you all think about this. I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah. So that's really the message that I want to give you today, is that it's not about being perfect. It is about, and here's the last thing. If last year did not turn out the way that you wanted it to, if you did not hit some of your big goals, if you started working towards clients and you didn't get there yet, I don't want you to keep doing what you're doing now. I want you to think outside the box. And I don't mean rewrite the script completely. So what I mean is to take what you've learned in VA school, take those fundamentals, and then ask yourself, what have I been unwilling to do? And then figure out how to do it, right? Because there's always things that we're unwilling to do. I know that. I'm reading a book right now. I think I have it right here. It's called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And it's really, I love reading self-help books. They help me a lot because it keeps my mind open, keeps me thinking, keeps me hopeful, keeps me excited. So this is the book that I'm reading right now. And what's interesting about this is that we all have to think outside the box. We all have to think outside the box. And I want you to do that too. Instead of doubling your email list, let's triple it. If you have 3 clients, or you made $20,000 or $5,000 or $2,000 and you want to make 60, let's go, right? Let's go. And don't be afraid to say those big, bold goals out loud. The first year I started my business, I decided I wanted to make $100,000 a year. I made 70. Do you think I was sad that I made 70? No, I celebrate. I remember where I was standing. I called one of my friends and I said, I made $70,000. He's like, of course you did. I'm like, what do you mean? This is crazy. How did I do that? And then I thought, well, I'll never do that again. And then the next year I made 100, the next year I made 100, and I kept doing that. And, you can do it, but you can't let life happen to you and do it. It doesn't work that way. You have to go out and get it. You have to go out and get it. And, yeah. And, last night I went to, I did something unusual. One of my neighbors is into breath work. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically, I don't know if I can explain it, but breath work is, it's breathing in a particular pattern in a sequence. And it's kind of like, the way that Ivy is my neighbor, and she had this session with a therapist in town. There were 5 of us total there, and I'd never done anything like this, but I just got back from a seminar or conference with my coach, James Wedmore, and 1,000 of my new best friends. And we're all in the room, and he's talking about breath work, and we're doing breath work, and I'm following along, but I don't really understand it. So when Ivy, I ran into her, there are no traffic jams where I live, but I walk every day and Ivy walks every day. And so from time to time we bump into each other. And about 2 weeks ago, she said, I'm doing this thing in town. It's going to be about breath work. I just gotten back from James Wedmore. He was talking about the importance of this type of work. And I was like breathing, whatever. And I thought, okay, ding, ding, ding. We're in an intersection here. I'm standing in the middle of a farm road. And this woman who I really like, who lives 2 doors down, is inviting me to a breath work session in town. I'm going. And I had no idea what it was going to be about, but I had this amazing experience. And I'm usually the one in the room that I do the thing and I'm like, yeah, that was good. And everyone else is like, I saw purple and my hair was on fire. And, and I'm like, okay, well, those things happened last night. And I know it was because I'm open to it. And it's a way of healing. It's a way of healing trauma. And at the conference, they talked about how to be successful in business. One of the big things is to heal the trauma, because whatever the trauma is that's driving us, it's in our way. And I just thought to myself, I don't really understand this, but I'm doing this. And they're going to start doing it once a month, and I'm going to go. And I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm trusting that someone that I admire, someone that's helping me with my business, with our community, knows what they're talking about, and I'm going to do it anyway. And those are the kinds of experiences that I want to encourage you to do as well. Keep your eyes open, keep your heart open, and set a big goal, and then see what comes into your path, and then jump in without fear. And like I said, be unreasonable with yourself. The last couple of weeks have been unbelievably intense. And, it was funny because when I went and I told Ivy some of the things that had been going on in my life, she said, well, thank you for coming. And I thought, yeah, you know what? High five me, because I could have said, all these things have happened and I'm just going to stay home in my jammies and watch my new favorite Netflix. And I didn't. I got out there. And I went for it, and I met new people, and I was in a room being vulnerable with new people, and it changed me. And that's what it takes. That's what it takes. Yeah. So let me just look and see who's here and in the comments before we go. So George is here, Daphne, Sonia, Maureen. Hello, Nancy is here. Rebia is here. Yes. Awesome. Great session today, Belinda. Chris says, I've been planning to treat this year differently with working towards goals. So this is great timing. Awesome. And yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. So breaking things down into mini goals and revisiting those goals each week is going to be powerful. Yeah. So here's how you can do that. So let me give you a very simple goal. All right. So every year, one of my goals, and I write it down, even though I've incorporated it into who I am, but is to eat healthy food and to move my body. And this year we're going to add weight building, weight training. And so I set a goal, and how many, and for me, it's every day for the cardio. And then I'll probably start with 2 times a week with weight training and then eventually go to 3. I want to do a little research on what's the optimal, but in my mind, that's probably what it is. So, I set that as the goal, as the intention. I write about it as if it's happened in December. It was a great year. I was in really good, I maintained my weight and got into really great shape. The weight training was amazing. I feel stronger than I ever have. I'm going to continue to do this. So you write this story, and then I have a piece of paper, and the piece of paper has the week. So I used to use this planner, and I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do, but it had this planner, weekly goals, and one of them is eat good food. And every time I have a day where I have been true to that, I put a check mark. Exercise, walk or ride your bike, check mark. And I check it off every single day. And it's so important to do that and to feel the accomplishment, but it's breaking down this huge goal, right? All the way down into a check mark a day. And you can do that with everything that you do. Okay, good. Good. Happy New Year. Awesome session. Thank you. I'm glad. Good, Paulette. Hello. All right. So let's make 2025 amazing, one day at a time. Okay, one day at a time. And I've got some really exciting things planned for you all. I'm going to get to work on them right now. It's part of what I've been looking forward to, and I'm excited. So be safe tonight. I went to the dentist this morning and he said, how are you celebrating? And I said, 10 kegs live band, my house, which of course I'm joking because I can't remember the last time I was around 10 kegs and a live band, but it's been a long time. So no matter how you celebrate, be safe, be smart, and start tomorrow with a childlike wonder and about the possibilities, and just do that every day, each day, one day at a time. Okay. Thank you for everything. It's been amazing year, and take good care, and I'll see you day after tomorrow. Bye for now.